Okay, we're looking across the field, and we're wondering, is there going to be a presidential candidate within the Republican Party who will break through the ranks and make a serious challenge to the front runner right now, who is Donald Trump? 800-859-0957. Love to hear from you. Get your take on this at 800-859-0WJR. What happens most years, most presidential election years, Kevin, is one of the key states in the battleground is South Carolina. And if no one breaks out by the time South Carolina holds their primary, it could already be too late as the candidates head into Super Tuesday.
I tell you, Tom, it shows how strong Donald Trump is that he was impeached twice. He's got four criminal indictments against him, and people are just now slightly daring to say he might not be able to win in the general election.
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I guess, and those who dare to go against Donald Trump don't fare that well. As Donald Trump, gets him a new nickname, and they lose their next election. Senator Mike Rounds out there saying he's got some uncertainty about Trump's chances in 2024. Does it highlight divisions within the Republican Party, or is it just healthy to say let's get everybody's ideas out there and let the best candidate stay standing? I think the Republican Party is pretty unhealthy.
It is, and I think if you wonder, listen, we don't know what Donald Trump's chances are in the general election. If he's the guy that's got over 50% of the Republican vote right now, then who would be the second person, the second female or male, to take that position as the better contender against Joe Biden, whoever the Democratic nominee is going to be?
Let's bring in Roshini dissects, political strategist and host of the Crisis Files podcast. Good morning, Roshini. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Great to be with you.
Yeah, Senator Mike Rounds throwing little pebbles at Donald Trump's armor. The former president has such a big lead, but he's got big problems too, 4 criminal indictments. Do you think it's a good idea that some of the Republicans start saying, wait a minute, we're worried about him in the general election. Maybe we should take a closer look at these other candidates?
I think it's a really good idea. I mean, someone's got to have a reality check. And, Trump does have a huge following. But we have to remember, not everyone who is voting in these polls and who's coming out in front and hugely supportive of him necessarily represents kind of the middle, that sitting in the middle, which I would say I am, where I don't like any of the options right now on the Democratic side or Trump. So I want to see what others have. And I applaud anyone who might throw those stones to just open up some seeds of doubt so that we actually have real conversations about viability for 2024.
Over 70% of voters think Joe Biden's too old. About a similar number say they don't want to see a rematch between Trump and Joe Biden. It would seem to me that both of them are vulnerable in a general election. Why such hesitation, or why can't anyone else get any steam and pull closer to Donald Trump?
Well, because there's such a machine of real people out there who do like Trump. And I think other candidates, let's just take the GOP side for a moment, are really afraid to alienate some of those people. So they're trying to walk this dance or dance this dance of how do I stand out, but then also in case they like him, they don't see I'm bashing him. Well, sometimes you've just got to call it, don't bury the lead, talk about who you are and let the chips fall where they may.
Do you think the current the criminal indictments against Donald Trump, I mean, how drastic do you think those alone in and of themselves are affecting President Trump's standing within his party and with voters?
Well, they don't seem to be affecting at least his real devout following. I do think as every week goes by and the headlines add up, and, of the 4 indictments, I think there were a couple that people question as more frivolous and maybe being used for politics, right? For those attacks, the political attacks versus what's truly an indictment. What can we really prove in a court of law? That even if 1 or 2 of the 4 have more merit and end up going to trial or end up actually more things come out in the discovery phase, well, then there is more of a problem. I mean, I think it's a crisis that we even have a presidential contender under indictment. I mean, that we should all be very concerned about that whether the charges are frivolous or not, we should be really concerned why and how that is happening in America.
Mike Rounds came out and he's given his support to Tim Scott out of South Carolina because he says that he's a Republican, he's conservative, but he's also showing himself to be more of the unity candidate, that he can bring the country together better than the rest of the field that is in the GOP, presidential primary, the race right now. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, here's what I'll say, and I did a little assessment of kind of the three people that seem to be vying for that second place, for lack of a better place to run for. They're vying for second place. And one of those people is Scott. And there are so many good things going for him. I mean, I came on your show weeks ago when he first declared, and there's so much to like about this guy. He checks a lot of the boxes, as they say, but he's also really trying to sell us the American dream that's been really lost. So he has a couple things that hurt him. He's kind of a nice guy, at least that's how he comes across. So we need to see strength from Scott for him to have any real staying power and fighting power against any of the other contenders, especially Donald Trump. He's got to stand on his own 2 feet, on his own record, talk about the laws that he's authored, the laws that he's passed, all the good he's done for not only his state of South Carolina, but the entire country as an actual sitting senator. That's what I want to hear more of from Senator Scott. And then maybe he has a chance with that unity message and the American dream message to actually be viable and to actually make us believe him.
How big of a problem does Donald Trump have with the independents, and does anyone else have a better chance with independents like Tim Scott or Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis?
Yeah, Trump has a huge problem with the independents. I haven't done my own polls, but he has a huge problem with them. And I would say Scott and Haley are sitting in really good positions to get the ear, get the vote, even more importantly, of the independents. Again, I go back to it with Nikki Haley. She used to be an ambassador. She can talk international. She can talk local. She was a governor. Talk about your own real programs that you did in your state. Even after a bit of a skirmish, she did take down the Confederate flag in South Carolina. If she really believes in what she did as governor, that's what she should be talking about on the campaign trail to give the rest of us who weren't in South Carolina a glimpse of how she would be as a future president.
Yeah, there were so many, I think, when you looked at the past debate that occurred in a couple of weeks ago, that these candidates seemed to stand out, but yet there wasn't a huge difference in the polls when you compare them to Donald Trump, and yet some of them were going toe-to-toe. You got, Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy kind of going at it. Do we need to see more of that to better differentiate these candidates before there's a real huge, significant shift in the polls, do you think?
I do think we do, Tom, and we need to see them standing up for themselves. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of attack against the others to point out very big and open weaknesses in whomever they think has a weakness. That's fine, but I'm big on going the moral ground, going high, going with your actual wins, talk about the reality, not just conjecture. And for all of them, against Vivek Ramaswamy, that is something they have because he's the newbie, never been in politics. He's getting criticized for being young and inexperienced in these ways. So, you can only attack him so much. So you really need to point out your wins and how you do have the savvy and how you do cut through the noise and how you will fight for the American people. And I think all voters, not just the independents, want to hear that.
It is such a fine line these candidates have to walk, such a difficult thing to do. We appreciate you doing it and explaining your position to us. Roshini Rajkumar, political strategist, host of the Crisis Files podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.